there, my name is Thiago and this is Inglês Everywhere, the podcast that helps you improve your English. I want to invite you to join me every week to take you to the next level, listening to all kinds of stories, fictional and non-fictional, as well as interviews. Welcome to Inglês Everywhere. Olá, ouvintes do Inglês Everywhere. No episódio de hoje vamos ouvir a história de Branca de Neve e os Sete Anões. Na minha pesquisa eu percebi que a história da Branca de Neve tem várias versões. Então eu tentei deixá-lo o mais próximo possível da versão original, que foi escrita pelos irmãos Grimm em 1812. O final da história ele já foi modificado várias vezes, pois na versão original ela é mais trágica. Então o final da história que vocês vão ouvir no episódio de hoje não se refere à versão original, tá? Ela foi alterada porque tem um final mais leve. Vamos então ouvir a história Snow White. Once upon a time, there was a queen who had no children. She was kind and lovely. Everyone adored her. The only sadness in the queen's life was that she wished for a child, but she didn't have one. One winter's afternoon, she was sewing by the window when a bird flew by, startling the queen and so prickling her finger. 3 drops of blood fell on the snow. Then she thought to herself, "Oh, how I wish that I had a daughter that had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." Soon after that, the kind queen got her wish when she gave birth to a baby girl who had skin white as snow, lips red as blood, and hair black as ebony. They named the baby Princess Snow White, but sadly, the queen died after giving birth to Snow White. Soon after Snow White was born, her father married again, a most beautiful princess, who was very vain of her beauty and jealous of all women who might be thought as beautiful as she was. She had studied dark magic and had a magic mirror, and every morning she used to stand before her mirror and say,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?"
And the mirror always used to reply,
"You, O Queen, are the fairest of all."
But Snow White grew fairer and fairer every year, till at last one day, when the queen in the morning spoke to the mirror and said,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?"
The mirror replied,
"You, my queen, are fair. It is true, but Snow White is even fairer than you."
Then the queen grew terribly jealous of Snow White, and she thought and thought how she could get rid of her, until at last she went to a hunter and offered him a lot of money to take Snow White into the forest and there kill her and bring back her heart as proof. But when the hunter had taken Snow White out into the forest and thought to kill her, she was so beautiful that his heart failed him, and he let her go, telling her she must not, for his sake and for her own, return to the king's palace. Then he killed a deer and took back the heart to the queen, telling her that it was the heart of Snow White. Snow White wandered on and on till she got through the forest and came to a little house in the mountain and knocked at the door. But she got no reply. She was so tired that she lifted up the latch and walked in. Inside the house, everything was small but tidy. There was a little table with a tidy white tablecloth and 7 little plates. Against the wall there were 7 little beds, all in a row and covered with quilts. Because she was so hungry, Snow White ate a few vegetables and a little bread from each little plate, and from each cup she drank a bit of milk. Afterward, Because she was so tired, she lay down on one of the little beds and fell fast asleep. After dark, the owners of the house returned home. They were the 7 dwarfs who mined for gold in the mountains. As soon as they arrived home, they saw that someone had been there, because not everything was in the same order as they had left it. The first one said, "Who has been sitting in my chair?" The second one, "Who's been eating from my plate?" The third one, "Who's been eating my bread?" The fourth one, "Who's been eating my vegetables?" The fifth one, "Who's been eating with my fork?" The sixth one, "Who's been drinking from my cup?" But the seventh one, looking at his bed, found Snow White lying there asleep. The 7 dwarfs all came running up, and they cried out with amazement. They fetched their 7 candles and shone the light on Snow White. "Oh, good heaven!" they cried. "This child is beautiful!" They were so happy that they didn't wake her up, but let her continue to sleep in the bed. The next morning, Snow White woke up, and when she saw the 7 dwarfs, she was frightened. But they were friendly and asked, "What's your name?" "My name is Snow White," she answered. "How did you find your way to our house?" the dwarfs asked further. Then she told them that her stepmother had tried to kill her, that the huntsman had saved her life, and that she had run the entire day through the forest, finally stumbling upon their house. The dwarfs spoke with each other for a while and then said, "If you will keep house for us, and cook, make beds, wash, sew, and knit, and keep everything clean and orderly, then you can stay with us, and you shall have everything that you want." "Yes," said Snow White, "with all my heart," since Snow White greatly enjoyed keeping a tidy home. So Snow White lived happily with the dwarfs. Every morning they went into the mountains looking for gold, and in the evening, when they came back home, Snow White had their meal ready and their house tidy. During the day, the girl was alone, except for the small animals of the forest that she often played with. Now, the queen, believing that she had eaten Snow White's heart, could only think that she was again the first and the most beautiful woman of all. She stepped before the mirror and said,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of them all?"
And it answered,
You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White, beyond the mountains with the 7 dwarfs, is still 1,000 times fairer than you.
This startled the queen, for she knew that the mirror did not lie, and she realized that the huntsman had lied to her, and that Snow White was still alive. Then she thought and thought again how she could get rid of Snow White. For as long as she was not the most beautiful woman in the entire land, her jealousy would give her no rest. At last, she thought of something. She went into her most secret room. No one else could go inside. And she made a poisoned apple. From the outside it was beautiful, and anyone who saw it would want it. But anyone who might eat a little piece of it would die. Coloring her face, she disguised herself as an old peddler woman so that no one would recognize her. She traveled to the dwarf's little house and knocked on the door. Snow White put her head out of the window and said, "I must not let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me to do so."
"That is all right with me,"
answered the peddler woman.
"I'll easily get rid of my apples. Here, I'll give you one of them."
"No," said Snow White, "I cannot accept anything from strangers."
Are you afraid of poison?
asked the old woman.
Look, I'll cut the apple in two. You eat half, and I shall eat half.
Now, the apple had been so skillfully and cleverly made that only one half was poisoned. Snow White wanted the beautiful apple very much, and when she saw that the peddler woman was eating part of it, she could no longer resist. And she stuck her hand out and took the poisoned half. She barely had a bite in her mouth when she fell to the ground dead. The queen looked at her with an evil stare, laughed loudly, and said,
White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony wood, the dwarfs shall never wake you up.
Back at home, she asked the mirror,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of them all?
It finally answered,
You, my queen, are the fairest of them all.
Then her cruel and jealous heart was at rest, as well as a cruel and jealous heart can be at rest. When the dwarfs came home that evening, they found Snow White lying on the ground. She was not breathing at all. She was dead. They lifted her up and looked at her longingly. They talked to her, shook her, and cried over her, but nothing helped. The dear child was dead, and she remained dead. They laid her on a bed of straw, and all seven sat next to her and mourned for her and cried for 3 days. They were going to bury her, but she still looked as fresh as a living person and still had her beautiful red cheeks. They said, We cannot bury her in the black earth. And they had a transparent glass coffin made, so she could be seen from all sides. They laid her inside, and with golden letters wrote on it her name, and that she was a princess. Then they put the coffin outside on a mountain, and one of them always stayed with it and watched over her. The animals also came and mourned for Snow White. First an owl, then a raven, and finally a dove. Now a prince entered these woods and came to the dwarf's house, where he looked for shelter for the night. He saw the coffin on the mountain with beautiful Snow White in it, and he read what was written on it with golden letters. Then he said to the dwarfs, Let me have the coffin. I will give you anything you want for it. But the dwarfs answered, We will not sell it for all the gold in the world. Then he said, Then give it to me, for I cannot live without being able to see Snow White. I will honor her and respect her as my most cherished one. As he spoke, the good dwarfs felt sorry for him and gave him the coffin. The prince had his servants carried away on their shoulders. But then it happened that one of them stumbled. The piece of poisoned apple in Snow White's throat fell out. Not long after that, she opened her eyes, lifted the lid from her coffin, sat up, and was alive again. Good heavens, where am I? The prince said joyfully, You are with me. He told her what had happened and then said, I love you more than anything else in the world. Come with me to my father's castle. You shall become my wife. Snow White loved him, and she went with him. The wedding was planned with great splendor and majesty. Snow White's wicked stepmother was invited to the feast, and when she was dressed in her most beautiful garment, she stood before her mirror and said,
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?
The mirror answered,
You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but the young queen is 1,000 times fairer than you.
Not knowing that this new queen was indeed her stepdaughter, she arrived at the wedding, and her heart filled with the deepest of dread when she realized the truth. The evil queen was banished from the land forever, and the prince and Snow White lived happily ever after. Thanks for listening. Follow us on your favorite streaming service and Instagram at Inglês Everywhere to make sure you won't miss the next episode. See ya!